Howdy, saxophone geeks. Took a little chance on a mouthpiece here. Um, and didn't do that great on it, and you'll hear. This is the first playtest of the mouthpiece. I bought it because I generally have been keeping an eye on eBay for pretty affordable mouthpieces for students, alto and tenor mostly. Where students nowadays, there's not a lot of shops you can go to try any kind of gear. The mouthpiece market is booming. However, everything's expensive. Everything is a high value mouthpiece. All the boutique mouthpieces are $600. It's a little insurmountable for students and families. I bought a couple of auto links, got good deals on them, and passed them along to students. Not trying to make any money, just trying to help them quality control and maybe focus them on things they might like to play and play well on. So I tried this. This came up, and I'd never even heard of this mouthpiece, but I have a soprano mouthpiece that's a Wolf Tane, and this is a tenor version. I believe that this is a Meyer blank that they used, as you can see by the small chamber. Now, I kind of hoped that maybe it's Wolf Tane and that he did the work. He was a great mouthpiece worker, and I was hoping that the facing would be, happening, that it would play nice. Didn't really find that to be the case. You can see a lot of work has been done when we get to this picture of the tip at the end here. That a lot of work was done to make it less than a Meyer. I think they probably took out a little too much baffle. And for me, the facing curve seems a little too long. I prefer a little bit shorter to facilitate the high notes. So as you'll see, give it a listen and see what you think of it, and, we'll go from there. Not entirely impressed with it. It's not the kind of mouthpiece you'd have refaced or anything like that, so I don't really know what the future holds for this mouthpiece, but we'll see, and that'll be that. Enjoy the video. Let me know what you think. If you know anything about these Wolf Tane mouthpieces, maybe he wasn't even involved in the company and they just had the rights to use his name. I don't know. Be interesting to find out if you know anything about it, and enjoy. All right, so we're going to play test to the Wolf Tane mouthpiece that I just picked up. The Florida I always play these days with a pretty decent reed. This is the best reed at the moment in the water over there. So this is what this mouthpiece play sounds like. I like this. This reed's got a little bit in the bottom that I like. It's a little weak up top. It's not a great reed, but it's an okay reed. So we're gonna go and I bought 3 rubber mouthpieces. I got the Wolf Tane thing that we got, which is an early Babbitt type mouthpiece. I got it really cheap, as you saw. I brought the Thomas O something O'Leary mouthpiece. Is a Japanese made mouthpiece that I really like. It's not quite a 7. This is a 7. The Wolf Tane's a 7. They say. I didn't measure it. And I brought the Ted Klum Florida, which is a 7-star, mainly just because it's got the ligature I needed. So let's try the Wolf Tane. Let's see what we get out of it with this reed. Sorry about the overhead light, but what I'm going to do is this is what I have access to. So one of the interesting things about this mouthpiece is I think it's the blank they used for the Meyers. It's different at the back. You can see this looks more like a Brillhart, sort of. The hard rubber Brillharts have this kind of shank at the back. But I think it's just because they were able to lathe it. They just did that on the lathe. I think this ridge here is original to the Meyer blanks, and then they just did a different thing to make it look like a different mouthpiece. I don't know. This is the Boston Sax Shop ligature that fits a good amount of rubber mouthpieces, and I was hoping it would fit this one, and it seems to. I put a patch on it. I've not played this mouthpiece yet. No one has. I showed it to a friend. I'm going to have a few other people play it. It's very interesting. I'm not sure what was going to happen with this mouthpiece. The first trick will be, does it fit on the cork? And boy, it does not. Look at that. So I'm going to have to figure out a piece of paper here. Let me figure that out. I really like receipt paper for this. In this country, in America, we use this waxy, slick, very smooth receipt paper. And if I can get this to tear correctly, this would be going better if I wasn't on camera. Ha 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 ha. But I like these a lot because they're nice and slick. Normally what I do is I just cut a bunch of strips of paper. If I have a mouthpiece I'm using that doesn't fit, I just keep a bunch of them in the case. Little strips like this. And this will wrap around the cork. If you've never done this before, I like to make sure the cork is dry. I've been playing for a few minutes here. And then you just hold it flat and real smooth. And you want to make sure when it comes around to where you already are that it doesn't bunch up or overlap. That it just, not overlap, but that it doesn't fold in. And that, it's not a lot, but that should be enough to get this mouthpiece on here so that we can at least try it. And there you go, that's tight enough, reasonably so. We don't know by playing it how far in or out we're going to have to be. I'm going to go about there, assuming with it, if it is a 7 open, it should play fairly similar to the Link. Let's find out. All right, here are literally the first notes on this unusual Wolf Tane mouthpiece. I hope I'm not saying Ted Klum. Ted Klum I have over here. This is Wolf Tane. Now, this is made by Babbitt. It's a Babbitt mouthpiece. Maybe they were just using his name. I don't know. Maybe he worked on these mouthpieces. I don't know. I think if someone who was as notable as him worked on this mouthpiece, that the tip rail would be more accurate. We'll find out. I don't know. If you guys know anything about these mouthpieces, let me know. Kind of an interesting find. And, for a student, if it turns out it plays okay, this is something I can, sell to a student, where they can't go and spend $600 on a Matt Marantz, or even those Johannes Gerber Autolink copy things are $420, and he makes a good mouthpiece. That's still a lot of money for a student, at least generally speaking. So anyway, that's enough of me talking. Let's see what this thing does. It's a lot darker than I had hoped it would be. It's kind of a small chamber, but there's really not much baffle. They really worked a lot of the baffle out of it. So that sounds pretty dark. The altissimo doesn't, there's probably a longer facing. And for me, for how I play, the altissimo is not going to work that way. All right. Try adjusting the reed a little bit here. So let's push the reed up a tiny bit. Make sure the ligature is centered. I want to come back to this one. Let's put on the Thomas I'll tell you the name. Hold on. Tommy Okatsu, Japan. Now, I really liked this mouthpiece. I played this for about a year and a half or so during the pandemic. It's a 6. And when I bought it, the guy I got it from said, oh, no, it's really more like a 7, but I never measured it. I don't know what the opening is. But every time when I do play it, it does feel a little on the small side. And this should be pretty bright. This has a lot of baffle in it. And that altissimo pops right out. All right, and let's just do the Ted Klum one just for contrast. So this is the Ted Klum Florida green marble, and he calls it's got the Ted Klum bump. There's a little extra baffle right at the end, right here, that you can see. It's notable. And this one's a little tighter on the cork. So that's the problem with trying different mouthpieces. You've heard me talk about this. Is that, I'm going to put this on here, and then it's going to compress the cork, and then I'm going to have trouble with the Florida that I play, which we don't want. So this should be quite powerful, powerhouse, bright, buzzy, and it's a 7-star. It's a tiny bit more open. Wow, not as much. Getting more out of the Okatsu, the Tommy Okatsu. Thomas Okatsu. The other thing I don't like about this mouthpiece is the angle of the bite plate. Too flat for me. I need the angle. I need a wedge like this to push up against. Maybe if I lower the horn a little bit. But then I'm hunching too much. I'm trying to find in the middle of that. Yeah, it's not quite making the amount of sound you'd expect. Let's go back to the Wolf Tane. Back to the Wolf Tane. Yeah, it's really dull and stuffy. Not good. Not good. I like the low notes. I like the lower register, the middle register. You can see this potential. It needs more baffle. And I don't think this is a good facing curve for me. It's probably a long facing. We'll measure it when we get back up home. I'm sort of off site right now. Maybe we'll measure it and see at least what the back number is. We can get an idea of what it is. For me, as someone who was an alto player first, on tenor, I like a pretty short facing. Helps me to just pop out all the high notes and stuff. Everybody's different, so everybody needs different things. And for me, that's not a deal breaker. It's very possible that's part of the issue with this. And you can always have a mouthpiece refaced, and a lot of times when they open up a mouthpiece, that adds more baffle material because of the shaping, and so you could get a little more out of it. But is a $90 mouthpiece worth putting money into? I don't know. I do experiment sometimes with putting baffle material, like a little epoxy up there. That might bring some liveliness to it, but I've had this experience as well where it doesn't make a dog mouthpiece a good mouthpiece. Good dog, sit. Good dog, ubu. Sit, ubu, sit. Good dog. But it doesn't always help. There's a lot of factors in it. It doesn't feel like it's not open. I think, again, part of that is where my embouchure sits on the mouthpiece and how I blow and all that stuff. That's one of the things that the facing curve works with. So I think it's just a really relaxed facing and which is surprising because the Wolf-Tane facings that are on the old Auto Links are generally pretty short, pretty aggressive facings, which is what I was hoping for with this, something that would be punchy and powerful, but it's actually really dark. Kind of a surprise, and it's not a huge chamber. This has to do with the amount of baffle material that was taken out when they manufactured the piece. And who knows if they all came like that or if this has been messed with. It was an open box. It looked like it was never played, but who knows? We don't know nothing, right? So one more thing we can try, the best reed in the water over there, number 7. Let's try that one other reed. This is reed number 7. This reed has saved my butt. Weeks of it. I had a salsa, like a mambo gig with some cats, and this reed lived through that and then worked the next day. And then this past weekend, again, same thing. All those other reeds are suffering the weather, where this one had been working really well. And here's what this sounds like on the funny Wolf-Tane. You know what it reminds me of a soloist with no baffle, like a stock soloist. No baffle. It has that vibe, but it's just not enough resistance on the reed. It needs a different facing curve for me. This would never work. I can put up with the sound and I can push, but if I was going to mess with my chops, that's not going to work. So yeah, even that Thomas Onishi is the winner today. I got more out of that than these other two, and of course the Florida, that's home base. That one really works well for me. So, so you go, Wolf-Tane. It was a nice shot, kind of a dog. Not really what I was hoping for, and I wouldn't give it to a student. I wouldn't suggest a student play it if it's not going to play well. So this is kind of a bust on this one. It's only $90. The guy gave me a good deal on it through eBay and everything, so I appreciate that to those guys. I'll put the name of the store down there or whatever. So I appreciate him working with me, but I don't know how useful this would be for anybody. So there you go. Thanks for watching, Saxophone Geek. We'll play the good pieces, and you do the same. And if you know anything about the history of these Wolf-Tane mouthpieces and how that came to be, and if he worked on any of these or if they just used his name, let me know your thoughts on it. And again, I'm Andy Voelker out of Boston, the Saxophone Geek. You can find me on Instagram now, AV Jazzman on Instagram. And I try to do some funny stuff, some comedy stuff, and some live music stuff. So anyway, check that out. Hope you all are well. Happy New Year's. See ya. Saxophone Geek, thanks you all again for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know what you think of the Wolf-Tane. If you know anything about those mouthpieces, all the best to you. Hope you get some good reads, and we'll check you next time. Saxophone Geek.